just like to say welcome to our Stay Well This Winter event. This event is being brought to you by Epping Forest District Council and the NHS West Essex Clinical Commissioning Group. Okay, so this morning we will have a number of speakers coming up to the stage to give advice and help on how to stay well this winter. And I'd just like to welcome Vanessa to come and do our wake of shake to get you all energised and ready for the day. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Okay, so we're going to warm our bodies up. Okay, rubbing our hands together. Now the arms. Okay, now your tummies. Very important. Okay, I think we need to get a bit vocal now. So let's have a whoosh. We're going to go whoosh. Whoosh. Lovely. Whoosh. 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 Feeling a bit warmer? Yeah, fabulous. Lovely. Well done, everyone. Okay, let's do a bit of Charleston. Kick and back. So you can do this on your chair. 1, 2. On this side. Oh, yes, that's great. Well done, give yourselves a clap. Okay, here we go. Maracas! So side to side. Just like you to breathe in through your nose, everyone, and breathe out through your mouth. Okay. This is your time for a little bit of peace and quiet. Let's give ourselves a little hug, just so we stretch the tops of the back, and drop your head down if you can, just to give a tiny stretch down the back of the neck. And up we come. Well done, everybody. Thank you very much. You were amazing. Have a lovely rest of the day.
Okay, and I would like to welcome our first speaker of the day. So can we all give a big warm welcome to Alison, who's from the NHS Pharmacy team.
Good morning all. It's really, really lovely to see you all here. And I think Vanessa's warm-up session is a fantastic example of how health and well-being is about more than just medicine. And that's coming from a pharmacist. So it's good for us. Before I start, I just wanted to raise everyone's awareness of this article that was in the Times a couple of weeks ago. It's really relevant to the group of people we have here, and I wanted to share it with you. This article was in the Times on the 29th of October, and it talked about the scandal of older people taking too many pointless pills. Quite a shocking thing to say in a major newspaper. It went on to say hundreds of thousands of older people were hospitalised because of side effects of drugs, and they often didn't need them. That was Keith Ridge, the Chief Pharmaceutical Officer of NHS England, who said that. That's quite a damning thing to say. Dr. Ridge also went on to say that 1 in 7 hospital admissions in England and Wales in the over 75s was a result of drug problems, and that an estimated 20% of medicines were unnecessary, and that half were not taken properly. So, as a pharmacist, stories like that make me really sad and frustrated, because what we want is for people to feel empowered to find out about their conditions and the medicines that we give them to treat those conditions, and to have expectations and realistic expectations of what they can expect from treatment and whether treatment is actually working for them. Yes, because the more medicines you take, the more likely you are to get interactions between those medicines, and the more likely you are to get side effects. And then it becomes an issue of how do we know what is the disease and what is the side effect of medicine. So it is really important that you know what you're taking, why you're taking it, and what you can expect. So in terms of information, every medicine comes with a little pill, a patient information leaflet. Now the downside of these leaflets is these are produced by the manufacturers of the drugs, and they include everything. They are very, very confusing because they state things, if you have problems with your kidneys, you shouldn't take this medicine. But in actual fact, when your doctor prescribes medication, they will often have taken those things into consideration, and they will have considered the benefit that you might get from the medicine and the potential risk of side effects. So although the information leaflet is useful, it needs to be put in context. And I would urge you, if you have read the information leaflet and you have concerns about the medicine you've prescribed and whether it's suitable for you, please, please, please talk to someone. Now, I don't know if anyone went to the pharmacy last week. Did anyone go into a pharmacy last week? Good. So we really need to raise awareness about the pharmacy and how much information you can get from the pharmacy. Pharmacies do medication reviews, but you can also drop in ad hoc. If you go to a pharmacy where you really haven't got the service that you want and the information you want, try a different one, because there are some wonderful pharmacists out there who really want to help you with your medicines and who will do a formal review of your medicines. When you go for those reviews, don't just take the medicines that are prescribed for you. Personally, I'm very lucky I don't take any prescribed medicine, but if you look here, I've got 2 bags of things that I take regularly, some of them, and some of them as and when I need them. It's important that your pharmacist knows about these kind of things too. And don't forget your creams and your inhalers. Take everything with you when you go for a medicines review, because don't ever assume that the things that you buy over the counter or that you get from a health food shop are safe. They may not be safe for the condition that you have. They may not be safe with the other medicines that you take. And before I joined the CCG, I worked in hospital, and these were as much of a problem as some of the prescribed medicines. So you do have to be careful. I would also say be wary of stories that friends and family share with you, or stories that you read in the press, because often they are anecdotal. It's someone's experience of the medicine, but your experience may be completely different. Just because someone experiences a particular side effect doesn't mean that you will. We are all individual, and we can all experience slightly different side effects. So I would urge you to speak to your pharmacist, your GP. If you've stopped taking the medicine, you haven't told them, let your GP know. When I worked in hospital, I saw a lot of people who had stopped taking medicine or changed the way that they'd taken it and never told their GP. I know these aren't easy conversations to have, but it is really important, because your GP may escalate your treatment, thinking that what he's given you previously isn't working. So they may put you onto something stronger. So it is important that you have those difficult conversations with your GPs. And your GPs want to hear that from you. At the moment in the NHS, we have £300 million of wasted medicines. Now that isn't because people necessarily intentionally waste them, it can also be because they get them and they're not using them properly. So we want to reduce that. Here in West Essex, the estimate is that we waste £4 million worth of medicines every year. So we want to reduce waste, because that money, the NHS is very short of money, so we want to not waste money. So if you've stopped taking your medicine and you haven't let your GP know, please let them know, and please let them know the reasons why you haven't. Because it may be that you didn't have the right expectation in the first place, or it may be that they intended to increase the dose and they started you on a low dose to start with and to see how you get on, see if you tolerate the side effects. So you might not be getting the full effect of the medicine. So it's really important that you have those conversations. It's also important, as you get older, our bodies change. Our ratio of fat to muscle changes, our kidneys change, our liver changes, and all of those things can affect the dose of the medicine that you take and how the medicine works, and whether you'll get a good effect from it. I would encourage you all to get more involved. If you have a long-term condition, if you're on regular medication, try and find out as much as you can. There are lots and lots of fabulous resources that will help you do that. But I just want to share one last stat with you about self-management. So self-management is about when people take more control, find out more about the condition, how to cope with their symptoms, and sometimes that might not be through medication, but it says that it helps people to live better and put them in control, and that just for one condition, they looked at COPD, which is a respiratory condition, and for COPD alone, getting involved in self-management meant that at least 36% of hospital reductions, there's a 36% reduction in hospital admissions from people with COPD because they were better empowered to manage their own condition. So I would encourage you to get involved. Thank you.
And we are now going to welcome Michelle and Audrey, who are from the NHS Falls Prevention Team.
Everybody. Hello, I'm Michelle from the West Essex Falls Prevention Team. This is Audrey from the Community Matron Team in West Essex. We both work for SEPT, which is an NHS service. So what we want to do today is to give you an insight into what we do, so that if any of you might need us, you know where to come to. Falls Prevention Service. I don't want to scare you too much, because I know there's a bit of a stigma attached to falls, but 1 in 3 over 65-year-olds will fall within the next 12 months. Okay, it's quite a high number, and if I told you that that doubles, it goes to 50% when you get to over the age of 80, that's quite scary, isn't it? What people don't realise is there's quite a lot that you can do to prevent a fall. People think, oh, falls, they're inevitable, they're always going to happen. There are things you can do about it. And thinking about the winter, what I want to do today is to just give you a few tips for things to think about as the winter is coming now. It gets colder, so it might be a bit cooler in the home, which means that your muscles and your body isn't as warm, so it's harder to move around. Now, you may or may not already have a medical condition that affects your walking or your mobility, but as you get colder, that makes it even worse. So keeping your home warm is really important. If funding is an issue for you, there are stalls here today that will help, that can talk to you about that, to try and find some sort of benefits or ways of funding, getting payments to help keep you warm, to pay for those extra heating bills. So really important. Within your own home, you may well live alone, and you might not have anybody there to support you. You might want somebody to help support with extra activities in the winter. Getting out and about can be more difficult as the weather gets worse. So thinking about what services are available to you, and also thinking about if you were to have a fall at home, how do you get help? If you can't get yourself up from the floor and you live by yourself, how are you going to get help? Well, Careline is one really a good way of getting help. The pendant alarm you may have seen people wear around their necklace or on their wrist. So speak to them if you've not heard of it before, if you want some information, or if you're thinking about getting it. It's a really good way of doing it. And again, there is a cost attached to it. So if you're thinking, well, I can't afford it, are there other ways that you can do it? Can you get some benefits or funding to help with it? Or have you got a mobile phone that you could pop in your pocket? Or something like that you can think of, a way to get help if you need it. The other thing you can think about, particularly for the winter, is what you're wearing on your feet. Especially if you're going outdoors, make sure you've got a nice, warm, solid shoe on. We have uneven pavements out there already, so we need to keep our feet as solid as we can on the ground. So really important to think about your footwear. The Falls Prevention Team can help you because we come and visit you at home. We come and see patients in their own homes. So if you've got if your GP is in West Essex, we can come and visit you in your own home. And what's really helpful is that we can see your home environment. So we can help to give you some advice, some prompts, some information about things that you can do to make your home as safe as possible for you. Or it might be that we provide pieces of equipment for you to help you as you're doing your daily activities. We can also offer exercises to help keep your legs strong, to help your balance, that sort of thing. And it might be that we do home exercises with you, or if you really can get out and about, we do offer group exercises as well in the areas, so we can get you out and about and socialising as well within all of that. So there's lots of benefits to being seen by the Falls team. I'll hand you over to Audrey now.
Good morning again, I'm Audrey. Right, as my colleague said, I'm a community matron. I cover the Buckersteel, Chigwell and Abridge area and a bit of Loughton. I've got other colleagues that we work closely together. What I should say first is that we've got colleagues working in Ongar, Epping, Waltham Abbey and Loughton. In my role, I go into the homes and I look after people with long-term chronic conditions. I also look after people who are on 4 or more medication. As community matrons, we work very closely with our social care colleagues, with mental health, occupational therapists, physiotherapists. You name all the health professionals, we liaise with them to work with them for the good of the patient. When I go into the home, I'll not only be assessing someone's physical health, see how they manage in the home, I'll also be looking at how they function in their home, what support is there, and as Michelle mentioned, we make use of all the voluntary services, care line, voluntary action. The self-management course is there to support our patients as well as all that's already been mentioned. You can refer yourself directly to us or you can speak to your GP if you'd like us to see you. But we are there available to come in and support you to manage your long-term condition. Our main objective as community matrons is to ensure that you are safe, well and at home, or the place you want to be. I'd just like to show you something. With having a long-term condition, it's important to prepare for the future. I don't know how many of you may have seen this document, but it's called an advanced care plan. Yes. And it's preparing for the future. You writing down what you would like, what care you'd like. It covers a lot of areas, who to contact, what your condition is, what medication you're on. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Okay, so we're now going to move on to our third speaker of the day. So if everybody could give a nice warm welcome to Stephen, who is from the Essex Local Optical Committee.
I'm Stephen, I'm from the Essex Local Optical Committee. I represent optometrists in the Essex area. Primarily, I represent those in the West Essex area, which is Harlow, Buckersteel, Loughton, of course. I was really glad to hear that Patrick gave me a slot before lunch, because as an optometrist, I'm going to show you the inside of an eyeball. So what have we got here? Right, so this is the inside of an eyeball. This is the nerve that connects the back of the eye to the brain, and that's the centre of the eye, that's the macula. So this is what we this is what we look at every time when we give you an eye test. This is a cross-section of the eye. So this is an eyeball which has been cut in half. So the surface of the eye, this is the lens where we talk about cataracts, for example, and that's the retina, the back of the eye, where we look out for sort of detached retinas. So we have a cross-section of the eye there. I do work for Specsavers. I am the optometrist director, so a lot of you will recognise me, and I recognise a lot of you. I opened a store 14 years ago, so I look exactly the same as I did that day. Right, so I'm here for the Essex Local Optical Committee. We represent the opticians, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to provide more services on the high street to you for free. So we're working quite closely with the NHS, negotiating special deals for you, and I'll explain what these enhanced optical services are. Just so there's no confusion, this is an optometrist. So they work in the high street, and this is an ophthalmologist. If you have someone cutting at your eyeball, then what do you think? Which one? Fantastic, well done. If you have someone measuring you for glasses, then they're going to be optometrists. Having said that, what gets confusing now is, can you see the equipment that we have in our consulting rooms? So we'll have a slit lamp by a microscope, that's an electronic phoropter head. So it's very rare now that you'll go into an optician and we put the old trial frames on you. It's likely that you have that electronic machine whirring and whooshing. Ophthalmologists, eye doctors, you'll see them at Whipps Cross, Princess Alexandra, Moorfields. Optometrists, so they're more likely to be on the high street, like myself. We have a minimum of 4 years training, and we can be accredited to test you for other eye problems rather than just for the glasses, and these are known as enhanced optical services. We can look inside the eyes and we can tell whether you need further investigation. So if you're not sure what's quite wrong with your eyes, come to see me, more than happy to see you, and I will refer you to the right people to have that looked at. We can remove things from the eyes, so it's not pleasant. I'll anaesthetize your eye, I'll numb it, I'll put you on a special machine. Let's see if I can go back to that machine. I'll put you on this special machine, and I do have some sharp tweezers pinching the eyelash or the little bit of bark off your eye. So you will see us doing a sight test. A sight test is mainly to test you for glasses, and currently most sight tests, if you're over 60, is covered on the NHS. Because sight tests are associated with new glasses, look out for special promotions. It's rare now that you do have to pay for a sight test or pay full price. If you do have to pay full price, a sight test is £25 to £40. Sight test tends to be the routine test, and with a sight test we can tell whether you need further examination. This is what's new in optometry. So we are trying to move a little bit more into the eye care side of things. We like to test you for non-routine specific eye problems now, if they're minor eye conditions. And what I'll do now is I'll explain what a minor eye condition is. If you're diabetic, we can test your eyes and see whether there's any sign of diabetic eye disease. So the reason why you should come to an optometrist rather than your GP for these enhanced optical services is because the GP won't have that piece of equipment, this piece of equipment here. Most GPs would agree with me. You can go to the eye hospital, of course, for these enhanced optical services, but what happens when you go to the eye hospital? You kept waiting for, what, 4 hours? And if you try to make an appointment, it takes about eight weeks, doesn't it, to make an appointment at Moorfields or Whipps Cross. Some parts of Essex, you can have these minor eye conditions funded, so you wouldn't have to pay for it. Like I said, I'm working closely with NHS now to try and get that in the West Essex area. Currently, you'll be paying maybe £25 to £40 for an appointment. A minor eye condition is when it doesn't hurt too much, maybe when the eye is red, if you're getting flashes and floaters, but you're not getting any shadowing. If you do get shadowing, then of course it's a hospital treatment.
One big thank you to Stephen. So now we're going to welcome our next speaker, who is Lindsay from Trading Standards.
So my name's Lindsay, I'm a Trading Standards Officer and I work for Essex County Council Trading Standards. So just a little bit of background about what we do. I do underage sales work, so that's going into shops and giving advice about how to prevent the sale of alcohol, knives, spray paints, tobacco to children. I do product safety issues, so if something's being imported into the country, say from China, and check they've got the right standards and they're being sold in a safe way. We look at counterfeit items at markets and boot fairs. We deal with animal health. We deal with food labelling issues, so making sure that the right meat is in your product and you're not getting extra horse or anything like that. So we deal with those kind of issues. But what I'm going to focus on today is scams and doorstep crime, and how you can kind of arm yourself against all the scams that are out there, because unfortunately there are a lot. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is doorstep crime. So that's someone knocking on your door, offering to sell you something or offering to carry out a service for you, and they're not genuine. So they're either going to charge you a highly inflated price, or it's work that doesn't need doing in the first place. So that could be replacing roof tiles, it could be replacing fence panels, gardening work, things like that. So our advice is, if you haven't invited them to your door, then the first thing is don't let them in. I mean, you can get genuine traders knock at the door, but there are other ways of advertising, and people now are aware that people don't like dealing with people on the doorstep. There are laws in place, so if you did sign up to your doorstep, to something on the doorstep, then there is a 14-day cancellation period for any contract that you sign. And that's something that the traders should be aware of, and there should be a cancellation notice provided in any contract that you sign that way. So tips are, be cautious if anyone knocks on the door, don't agree to having work done straight away, don't feel rushed or pressurised into anything. If someone, if you let someone into your house and they're there for hours giving you a big spiel and pressurising you, that is illegal and they cannot do that. Likewise, never go to the bank with a trader to get money out, that is often a scam. Check out a trader's details. So if they knock on your door and they say they're a member of a certain scheme or something like that, then take the time, do check them out, look up the number for the business independently, give them a call, do you have canvassers in my area, that sort of thing. Just do your own checks to make sure the person on your doorstep is who they say they are. If they're from a genuine company or business or something like that, then they won't mind waiting while you go and double check who they are. So don't ever feel worried about doing that. Or as to say, just don't answer the door to someone that you don't know. So don't open the door to someone you don't know. And it's also got the Citizens Advice consumer number there. So that's who you phone if you're worried about someone who has knocked on your door. So if you think they're canvassing the area and they are a rogue trader, give the Citizens Advice Service a ring and they can pass the information on to us. So if it is an immediate issue, then we may be able to send someone out to see if the person's still in the area and to see what they're doing. So that's a little bit on doorstep. If you do want a genuine tradesperson and you don't know where to go, then we run something called a Buy with Confidence scheme. Now that's a trading standards approved trader scheme. So basically on there is a list of builders, plumbers, electricians, all sorts of traders. There's a website, so you can get to it from buywithconfidence.gov.uk, or you can phone the Citizens Advice Service and they can do the search for you if you don't have internet access. So every trader on there has all been thoroughly background checked by us. So we talk to consumers who've had work done by them to check they were happy. We look at their terms and conditions in their contracts to make sure that they're abiding by the law. If they're going to come into your home, so they're a builder or a plumber, someone like that, then we make sure they've had a background check and there's nothing in their history that we wouldn't want someone coming into your home with that on there. So that's all checked out. We make sure they've got a proper complaints procedure because nothing ever goes right. So we make sure they've got procedures in place, to deal with it if something does go wrong. And also you've got the added benefit of a Buy with Confidence trader is that we put our seal of approval on it. So if anything does go wrong, then you can come to Trading Standards and we'll help get to the bottom of any situation. So then briefly, I'm just going to talk about scams. There are lots of scams, telephone scams, post scams. You might get a lot of things through the post saying you've won a lottery or something like that, or send off this money or this cheque and you're guaranteed a big prize. There are catalogue scams, anything like that, rip it up and put it in the bin. If you haven't entered a lottery or a prize draw, then unfortunately you're not a winner. And unfortunately I do see people who send off lots of cheques and cashes to these lotteries and there's never any winning or any prize draw at the end of it. So just be very wary, family members, friends. If they get a lot of post and it's piling up in the house, they get a lot of sort of tatty gifts around the place, it may be that they're responding to scam mail. And once they're on that list, then they'll just get bombarded by mail. So there is people who can help. There's a charity called Think Jessica, and they've got a good website which has a lot of information on scams and scam prevention. And I've got some information on my stand about that, so do come and see me if you're worried for yourself or for anyone else. And the basic thing is just stop responding. So as soon as you stop replying to the scam mail, you will stop getting the letters because at the end of the day they just want the money from you, unfortunately. So the idea is to stop sending and then hopefully you'll be okay. So, take 5. Never disclose security details such as your PIN or full banking password. Don't assume an email, text or phone call is genuine. Don't be rushed. A genuine organisation won't mind waiting. Listen to your instincts. You know if something doesn't feel right. And stay in control. Don't panic and make a decision you'll regret. So, practical tips to protect yourself is that if any doubt, say no or end the conversation and put the phone down. If you're not sure, don't open the door. And if you're suspicious, talk to someone and get a second opinion. Okay?
So now we are going to welcome Natasha, who is from Self Management UK.
Hello everybody, my name is Natasha and I'm from Self Management UK, We are a national charity delivering self-management courses in the community, free self-management courses for people with long-term health conditions to help you manage your lives, your conditions better. By a show of hands, who has a long-term health condition in this room?
Long-term health. Long-term health.
So quite a few of us. And how many of us have been told by our doctor that we just need to get on with it? Or by family members, we just need to get on with it? Yeah? But how do we do that? How do we just get on with it? Well, that's what our courses are about. It gives you lots and lots of skills and tips on how to manage flare-ups, how to manage anxiety, how to manage depression, anything that you might be troubled by, any symptom that you might be troubled by. And it's about learning that set of skills and putting it into practice when things crop up that we're troubled by, rather than just relying on what the health experts tell us. Because after all, we only see them for a couple of hours a year. And I've got a number here. There are 8,760 hours in a year. And a national survey estimated that an average patient with diabetes sees a healthcare professional, so that's a nurse, consultant, doctor, etc., for only 3 hours per year. So what happens in the other 8,757 hours that are left? We're supposed to look after ourselves, aren't we? And some of us don't do that very well. We forget about looking after ourselves. So that's what self-management's about. It's about really putting ourselves back in the picture and looking after ourselves. How many of us say, oh, I used to exercise, or oh, I used to go to social events and social gatherings, but you don't do it anymore? Yeah. So self-management is about focusing on what we can do now and building on that so we can do more in the future. It's about looking at you as a whole person. So yes, we live with our health condition. We're not denying that. We have that health condition. It's about knowing as much as we possibly can about that condition, managing it the best we can, managing our medication. It's also about our emotional health, though, because our emotions impact on our condition, and our condition impacts on our emotions. And it's also about the social side of things. So spend time with family, friends, doing things, So not forgetting all of that, all of it. We're a whole person. We're not just our health condition. And just before I finish, I'll tell you a little bit about me. I live with several health conditions, and I came on one of our courses 5 years ago, and I'd been bedridden for 3 years at the time with pain and clinical depression. And I started to learn some skills and put them into practice myself and became a volunteer tutor. And several years later, I am now a support tutor for the company, and I was told I'd never work again. So it does work. It does work. The techniques do work. And that's what I'm hoping, all of us are hoping, that we can give to you through our courses. They're very short, they're only 6 weeks long, but they're very, very valuable. So thanks for your time, everyone.
So now we are going to welcome Steve, who's from the fire service.
Hi, good morning everybody. I've been asked to talk a little bit about fire safety, but before I do that, there's one thing I do want to mention, and that is carbon monoxide poisoning, because it does get forgotten about quite a lot. So if you've got any fossil fuel burning appliance in your home, whether it's an oil burner, a gas burner, a log burner, or anything like that, you need to consider the fact that you could have a carbon monoxide poisoning situation. So the best thing for that, of course, is to have a carbon monoxide alarm, which you can buy in any major outlet these days, including all the major supermarkets, DIY stops, places like that. The effects from carbon monoxide poisoning basically are you feel really ill, you'll feel drowsy, you'll have a headache, you feel sick, nausea. All you feel like doing is going to bed. Of course, if you don't check out whether or not you are ill, whether you actually have got the poisoning situation, you're obviously going to be in a really bad situation. So having the alarm really could be a difference between life or death. So I'd like to encourage you to do that. But the main thing I want to talk about, of course, is smoke alarms. Smoke alarms are the most important thing in your home as far as fire safety is concerned. If you've got working smoke alarms on the ground floor and every single level, in actual fact, in the hallway, on the landing, the idea being there that if you close your doors at night, you should be able to go from the top of your house all the way down and get out the house. The most deadly sort of fire you're going to have will be obviously at night where you're fast asleep. Generally speaking, if you have a fire in the daytime, it'll be a cooking fire, and then you'll be aware of it. Now, most cooking fires will start because you'll be cooking something on the stove or whatever, the doorbell rings or your phone goes or whatever, you get distracted for a little while, you move away, and then of course then you've got the situation in the kitchen you've forgotten about. And I put my hand up, that's happened to me a couple of times, I've been distracted. The other sort of issue we've had is also people misread the instructions on the cooking, the back of the packet, if you're doing a microwave meal, and put the wrong number in the machine to cook the food, and might put 60 minutes instead of 6 minutes in for your food, okay? So again, that has happened to me when I lived with a couple of guys in my 20s who lived in a flat. We went to the pub at Sunday lunchtime, put the food in, misread the instructions, it said 6 minutes, we put in for 60 minutes. We come back, the flat was full of smoke, disgusting. And our little meal was in the middle of the microwave, horrendous. Anyway, but I digress. So making sure, of course, that you do read the instructions. So smoke alarms on every level, one downstairs, one upstairs. We encourage you to push the button on a monthly basis, check it actually works. If you can't reach it, please don't stand on a chair. Most of them have got large buttons now that you can just stand on the floor and use a broom or a duster or something like that, okay, and make sure it works. If you have got a smoke alarm that doesn't work, we offer something called a home fire safety visit, where we'll come to your house with your free smoke alarms, free of charge. You can come over there and see me. Some people already signed up for this today. And we'll come to your house. You'll be a uniformed person with an ID, with all legit from the fire service. There's no fee, it's completely free. We fit your new smoke alarms and talk to you about how to stay safe in your home, the sort of things that might start a fire in your house, and how you would get out of your house if there was actually a fire.
And now we are going to welcome Keith, who is from the Clinical Commissioning Group run through the NHS.
Hello everyone, my name's Keith. I'm from the West Essex Clinical Commissioning Group. We've helped work with the Epping Forest District Council here to provide this event for you, so I hope you found it very useful, informative. We'd just really like to reinforce some of the messages that you've already heard today. Obviously, as we move into the winter months, it's very important that you do prepare yourself for that. You've heard from self-management, you've heard from the pharmacists about the importance of going and talking to them. Can I just ask quickly, how many people here have had their flu jabs already? Okay, good, there's quite a lot of you there. For those who haven't, we would encourage you to go and do that. And similarly, you can also go and get jabs now for pneumonia. So again, we would encourage you to go and do that. So one of the key messages that we'd like you to take from today is all about taking some responsibility for your own health as well as the services that are provided for you. So you've got a range of services that already exist in the community, the voluntary sector. They can be accessed quite easily, provide a lot of useful help and information for you. So although the NHS services are obviously there when you need them, there are a range of other services that help support that, and we would encourage everyone to at least be prepared and be aware of the services and help that is available for you. So, as I say, get your jab sorted out, go and talk to your pharmacist, and be aware of all the services and help that is available for you and that you can get. And that's from the community, voluntary sector, financial help to keep warm, make sure you're eating properly, all of those things that you've been doing all through your lives. But now, as you move through into the winter months, become even more important to help look after yourselves. And we'd always welcome any feedback you've got on the NHS services in your local area. Hopefully some of you have had good experiences. Some of you may have had experiences, unfortunately, that haven't been quite so good. But the only way that we can learn and improve from those is if you do come and talk to us or provide the feedback around what you've experienced so that we can look to improve the services for you in this area. Right, so thank you for your time, and please enjoy the rest of the day.
So if everybody could welcome John, who is from the East of England Ambulance Service, who recently received his OBE. So,
morning, everyone. That's a bit weak. Morning. Yes, I'm from East of England Ambulance Service. I thought we'd come and talk together today about your ambulance service and preparing yourself for winter and how you can get the best from us as an ambulance service. You may or may not be aware that if you dial 999 in this location, anywhere in the Epping Forest District, you'll get through to our control room in Chelmsford. But our ambulance service actually covers Cambridgeshire, Suffolk, Norfolk, Hertfordshire and Bedfordshire, so it's pretty huge, isn't it? And it's worth remembering that, because if you dial for an ambulance and you do have to wait for a while, you may well have a crew that comes from a long way away, and it's important therefore that you've prepared for it. So what I thought we'd do is have a little chat about how you can sort yourselves out should you need to call for an ambulance. And everything I'm going to say really is common sense that you all know, but if we bring it all together, you can perhaps use this to, not only for yourselves, but you probably know folk, neighbours, you've got friends who may be frail or may not be in the best of health, who you can keep an eye open for and use some of this information to advise, yeah? Is that okay? Yep, so what we'll do, we'll have a look at preventing calling us in the first place, what to do to prepare yourself should you have to call for an ambulance, and then how you actually do that, how you can get some help, and then we'll conclude by having a look at what you can do while you're waiting for us to come, and that generally covers everything you need. So first of all, you heard Alison this morning, didn't you, talking about medications. Medications are our friends. Well, they're a nuisance, aren't they, actually, keeping up with them. They are a nuisance, but they are our friends. And in terms of preventing having to call for an ambulance, we can't emphasise enough taking the advice that Alison gave you this morning, and keep going with your medications on a routine basis. And just because you feel well, don't give up. And keep an eye out for your friends to make sure they're keeping them up. Try not to miss doses. They are designed specifically to keep you healthy, and skipping them or taking them at inappropriate times, or you might have to take them with food and not feel like eating. It's not worth taking that risk of doing. So take them on time and take them properly. Now, when you're ill, I'm a community first responder around here, and I can't tell you the number of times that I've gone to people who are very, very unwell. And when we talk to them, we ask them what's happened, and they say, well, I went to the doctor a couple of days ago, and the doctor gave me some antibiotics, and I felt okay, so I stopped taking them. Now, that is terrible. You need to take them all the way through. You know that, don't you, really? But it's sometimes you think, oh, I can't be doing with that. So it is important. And, of course, if you stop taking them, you haven't got rid of the cause of the condition, and it can just present back worse. We have a condition which we recognise called sepsis, and that is a life-threatening condition, and it can just creep up on you without you realising, particularly in the winter months when it's colder. So take them as they're prescribed, and don't stop taking them just because you feel better. Yep. So you can keep your eye on your friends for the same thing, can't you? Again, talking prevention, keeping warm is important, and you can inadvertently deteriorate without realising it when you get colder. So keep your house on a constant temperature, and when you visit your neighbours, just have a little feel and think, I'm not comfortable with that, and have a word to see what you can do to help. Taking regular food and drink, that's important too. I say this is all common sense, isn't it? But you can kind of forget it, can't you, without really realising that it's done. So regular hot meals and plenty of fluids, take them in. You heard our falls team over there. We will get called to emergencies where people have fallen and they would otherwise be very healthy, but they've fallen simply because in the winter time you tend to gather things around you, don't move about too much, do you? And there's bits and pieces of clutter that you put to make it handy for you to get at, and that makes trips and fall hazards. The nights draw in much earlier, it doesn't get light so early, so you make sure you don't that you keep your lighting all nice and bright in there. And the key places that are vulnerable are in your kitchen and in your bathroom. So just keep an eye open for that when you're in there. Would you say that's true from your experience? Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's, if you like, prevention. So that's prevention. That's stopping you having to call us as an ambulance service. But how can, even when you're nice and fit, how can you actually prepare just in case we have to come? So the first certificate, can we find your home easily? You see, we've had a word with Theresa May, and she's kindly put her door number quite clearly on her door now, so she's okay. So have a think, is your door number nice and clear, and is it visible from the road? The other thing to think about is, can we get in to your house? You have to call us and you not be able to get to the door. So think about that. Consider having a key safe. How many of you actually got key safes? Yeah, very good, excellent. Make sure that the people that need to know the number, and it's so valuable to us. And if you're going to dial 999, tell us that you've got one. So that's a key safe. The other thing is that when we come in, particularly if you're unwell and you can't give us much information, we need to know about your medications. And have you come across the facility called Message in a Bottle? Yeah, Message in a Bottle. Those of you that haven't, it's a system whereby you have a little plastic bottle and you pop in it information about your medications. You also put your medical history so that we can look that up. Yeah, so it tells you who you'd like us to contact should you be unwell. Make sure you keep. My experience in coming to folk in those situations is, if you've got one, pop it in your fridge. Put the little label that you'll see in the bottle. Pop that on your fridge and have a label on the inside of your door so that we know you've got one, and keep it up to date. Make sure it's up to date, particularly phone numbers of relatives that you would like us to call should you be in an emergency. So that's Message in a Bottle. The other thing, calling for help. What we often find is folk like us, shall we say, not in the first flush of youth. We tend to think we'll get by, we'll avoid making a call, we don't want to bother anybody. Now, in my experience, that's the worst thing you can actually do. When you feel unwell, it's much better to call early so that we can get hold of the condition, the difficulty that you've got, and save you getting much worse. And you're much more likely to get well and be fitter quicker if you do that. So our message is call early. Now, what options have you got? You've got obviously your GP that you can call, but we've got a resource now, 111. Any of you come across 111? Giving it a call. It's a resource that's there for you to use, and I'll explain a bit more how you use it. But then, of course, you've got the emergency service, and then I'll come in my Batman outfit and come and give you a hand if you need that. So let's have a look at phoning. Call us early, and the other thing to consider is how could you make a call? And you heard Audrey and Michelle talk about how would we get at you if you were on the floor and couldn't get to your phone to dial 999? So think very seriously about help. In that situation, would you be able to call help? And the care line system is very important from that point of view. Yeah, so calling for help. 111. What's 111 for? If you don't know whether to go to hospital, call 111. Call 111. If you don't know who to call 111. They've got call handlers on the other end of the line. They have a script. They'll ask you a lot of questions, and they'll probably frustrate you because they'll ask you a lot of questions. But this is important, those questions, so that they can ascertain what kind of help that you're going to need. And the other thing is, if your GP surgery is closed and you can't get hold of your GP, use the 111 system to do that. And if you need medical advice or reassurance and don't know where to go, dial 111. It's there for you. Okay. Now, the thing, of course, that East of England Ambulance Service, our ambulance service, will do, we will respond to you if you have a medical emergency or a traumatic emergency, and that's what we're here for, really, and we'll come just as quickly as we can. If you've got you or your neighbour or your family have got a life-threatening situation, don't hesitate, just dial 999. The call handler on the other end of the phone is very friendly, very experienced, and they will sort out what help that you will need and send it straight away. So if you've got a very serious emergency or involved in a serious accident, use the 999 service and don't hesitate to do so. So if you feel you're going to need emergency treatment, dial 999. It's your default situation. Okay with that? What you're likely to get is one of our solo response cars with a paramedic in it, and that person will come along just to sort you out, just to get everything under control, and then decide whether you're going to need an ambulance or not. And then you may actually get one of our double-staffed ambulances to come as well. But don't be dismayed if you just get someone like me, a community first responder or a solo person, because we're there just to sort it out and get things under control and to sort out what you will need. And the thing to remember is that if you're not in an immediately life-threatening situation, we may keep you waiting a bit, simply because we cover the whole of the East of England region, but we will prioritise your call, and you'll get an emergency situation should you be in a life-threatening situation. Are you okay with that? So keep calm. And we're here to help you. That's what we're for. So don't hesitate to call us, and don't hesitate to call us early. Don't wait. What we need to know when you do make the call is you'll be asked very clear questions. So just have them ready. We'll need to know your exact address, where you are, and a good idea what your telephone number is, and any landmarks that you've got, particularly if you live in a house where you haven't got a number, or you're in a difficult, one of those things where the numbering is very odd and awkward to find. So give us landmarks and describe clearly what you're feeling and what's wrong. So what you feel and when it started. Have all that stuff ready for us, okay? So we're here to look after you. While you wait, think, can the ambulance find me quickly? Can the ambulance find me quickly? So on that basis, be prepared to maybe put your lights on. That's probably going a bit over the top, that one there, but it'd be lovely if you could manage that. So put your lights on, and if you can, send someone to the door to make sure that the door is open. You would be surprised at the real serious emergency calls that we go to, and we race there, get to the place, finally struggle to find the house, and then can't get in because the door is shut. So make arrangements for that, and have your message in a bottle ready. Have your message in a bottle ready. So what's the message really? It's been lovely to meet you this morning. You're a lovely bunch and you're all smiling, but I never want to see you again. So prevention, prepare yourself, even while you're fit, prepare yourself, and calling for help, use that 111 system or the 999 if it's an emergency, and then get yourself sorted out whilst you're waiting. Our call handlers, they're there, they're very friendly, they understand that you're in real trouble, so they'll really look after you and make sure that they're kind to you and tell you what to do while they're on the phone. And our paramedics, they're there, and they're very experienced, and they're lovely, and they'll give you all the help that you'll need. Okay, lovely, enjoy the rest of your day.
And could everybody make some noise for Elvis?
You know I can be found sitting all alone. If you can't come around, then please use the telephone. I don't be good, I am astray. Baby, if I made you mad, well, sometimes I say. Thank you very much.